He is Program Coordinator of the Masters in Journalism program at the Ateneo de Manila University, where he also teaches at the Department of Communication. Let's all welcome Mr. Ruel De Vera.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Book Industry Summit. I am very happy to see you here today. Welcome to the first day of the BIS and to the second day of the BIS, and welcome to our session today, which is Trends in Academic Publishing. Today we have a great lineup. Each of our speakers will present first, and then after that we will have a Q&A. So if you have any questions, please keep them for after the Q&A. We will get to all of them in due time. Academic publishing is an interesting area where a lot of you here know a bit or two about it, depending on your area about it, but there's a big aspect of it that a lot of people probably are less acquainted with. But today we have three true experts in the field. We'll begin with J.Neil Garcia. He teaches creative writing and comparative literature at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, where he serves as director of the University Press and a fellow for poetry at the Institute of Creative Writing. He is the author of numerous poetry collections and works in literary and cultural criticism. Between 1994 and 2014, he co-edited the famous Ladlad series on Philippine gay writing. Other important anthologies that he edited are Aura, the gay theme in Philippine fiction in English, published in 2012, and Bright Sign, Bright Age, critical essays in Philippine studies, published in 2017. He is the director of the Philippines of Project Global Grace, Global Gender and Cultures of Equality, a worldwide research and arts consortium sponsored by the Research Councils of the United Kingdom and Goldsmiths, University of London. He's currently at work on his 7th poetry book, Likha. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. J.Neil Garcia.
Thank you, Ruel. Magandang umaga po. I prepared a paper because I'm no good at doing PowerPoints. I find PowerPoints put the mind to sleep, at least my own mind to sleep. I don't know if the viewers feel the same way, but certainly for the one doing the PowerPoint, it's kind of boring. So I'm just going to be reading something that I prepared in relation to the topic of trends in academic publishing in the Philippines. I am approaching my 8th year, or finishing my 8th year as director of UP Press. So this is something of a report of what the UP Press has done in the last 8 years since I became the director. Since I took over the University of the Philippines Press in 2011, we have published around 330 titles. A good 65% of them are literary: poetry, essay, and short story collections, novels, and play collections in that order. Most of these are single-author books. Some are anthologies with multiple authors. The languages are almost evenly split between English and Filipino. While we have also published books written in the regional languages, they are few and far between. Moreover, each of them has been accompanied by a translation into either English or Filipino. This is our requirement, inasmuch as we'd like all our titles to appeal to a broader local and possibly translocal readership. Of late, we've seen a spike in literary titles falling into the genre category, in particular, young adult and speculative fiction. We take this to be a good sign, for what it betokens is a growth in the market of writers and readers of locally produced, even if mostly non-realist, traditionally seen as non-serious fiction. The novels in Filipino have outnumbered the novels in English in the last 8 years. We're not talking about a very large number, however. It would seem that, as far as fiction goes, the long form doesn't come so easily to our writers. The poetry books are probably the most numerous. They are sadly the slowest moving titles in terms of sales. Our bodega still has copies of some of the poetry titles that came out when they came on board 8 years ago. Karina knows this very well. On the other hand, my term as UP Press Director has seen an increase in the number of scholarly books being put out. The humanities and social science titles are more or less equal in number, with the books in the natural sciences being the hardest to come by. To begin with, they are the hardest to source, probably because peer-reviewed journals are the gold standard for dissemination in this discipline. UP Press's scholarly books are mostly written in English, particularly if they are in the sciences, social, or otherwise. The scholarly books written in Filipino are most commonly works in literary studies. The scholarly titles of UP Press are very rarely disinterested. What I mean by this is that they are, in the main, written with a clear interest or agenda on the part of the author, to bring to bear both the activity and the output of the research on a social issue or problem. To my mind, we may broadly describe this interest as a nationalist one. In other words, we need to remember that UP is a nationalist institution, historically as well as by definition, or by law. Many of the works of UP's writers, scholarly and creative alike, may be said to bear this history out. The clearest expression of this nationalist orientation is the fact that we have published UP-sourced scholarly titles whose category cannot be easily ascertained. Are they just books in the social or natural sciences, for example, when they bring together research from both fields in order to guide government in the crafting and implementing of policy? For instance, in regard to the problem of regional and national electrification, by mitigating the effects of climate change on local agri and aquacultures, the management of national parks, of mountain reserves, or of marine and silvicultural resources. Some, if not all of these titles, are the outcome of years of funded research, often by international funding agencies. In the end, it simply behooves the university to make this output available to both Philippine policymakers and future researchers alike. I've recently decided that very soon we at the press will be formally describing, actually labeling books of this sort as books in policy and governance. So I'm inaugurating a category of books because it's so hard to put them, force them into social science. They're not. It's so hard to put them into natural science. They're also not. They're doing everything to actually guide government in crafting policy and in implementing policy. Of course, this doesn't mean that as books they cannot be appreciated or read using the more traditional optics of the disciplines. But what this new nomenclature will do is it will formally register or recognize their purposive and or mixed nature. We can say that mixedness is an essential feature of the kind of knowledge production that, to my mind, Philippine books necessarily embody and evince. It is a mixedness or hybridity that we, as publishers and also as editors and book industry stakeholders, need to appreciate and understand better, so that we do not have to subject our books and our writers and scholars to uncritically assumed standards of scrutiny and evaluation that do not remotely respect what they are, where they are coming from, what their nature and purpose are, and what value and importance or what meaning they actually and to all intents and purposes bear. Like the other academic presses, UP has been the proud publisher of many outstanding works by our very best writers in English, the national artists Franz Arceliana and NVM Gonzalez, to name a few. Allow me then to conclude this section of my presentation by weighing in on a recent social media discussion, one that was occasioned by an opinion essay written by a benighted arts and culture columnist several weeks ago. I won't name names. In this piece, the columnist basically maligned the quality of our Anglophone literature as our local writers are producing it in favor of Filipino-American and other diasporic Filipino writings that he believes hold the veritable key to securing the future of Philippine letters. Upon closer scrutiny, we discover that there isn't much to commend by way of reasonable argument and proof this rather shallow and willfully tendentious assessment. This being the case, it's easy to see that the best reaction should really be, well, no reaction. In other words, dead ma. But an online firestorm stoked by very irate and articulate young writers did flare up. And because I don't only teach, but also for several years now, publish and market excellent books in Philippine literature in English, I find I too must register my own demurral against this nasty piece of slander. I can call it slander, I think. This is a demurral that ties in with my point about the hybridity of the knowledges we are generating and promoting in our country. We need to say that it is a hybridity that is constitutive not only of our writings, but also, and more vitally, of our lives. which are implacably situated and unfolding in our multilingual and culturally simultaneous reality as present-day Filipinos. However much we'd like to believe poetically that Filipino-ness is something that inheres in our character or our spirit, as something portable or even inheritable, like a nugget of cultural or genetic memory perhaps, that we can conveniently lug around inside our veins, in all likelihood, what is Filipino is what is experienced and in many ways endured locally, situationally, on the level of the everyday by Filipinos living in the gruel and the grit, in the savor and the spit of our poor and beloved Philippines. Our Anglophone literature comes from our particular Anglophone world, one that has coexisted and admixed, commingled and dissolved, clotted and congealed with all the other linguistic and cultural worlds in our country. Because English is globally spreading, we can imagine that increasingly, more and more Anglophone worlds are coming to exist, including those that our diasporic writers are doubtless living and working in. What's supremely interesting is that despite appearances, the outward familiarity of intelligible quote-unquote English words, for example, these worlds are inexorably and irreconcilably different one from the other. In the same way that the Englishes of these worlds are accented differently as they are spoken by various interlocutors, written Anglophone words bear experiences, memories, and ideas that are grounded in and inseparable from the demonically plural and specifically cited lives of those who write and read them. In other words, despite their use of what seems to be a common verbal currency, in truth, nothing is purely and unproblematically plain or intelligible across these Anglophone worlds. These are dynamic and empirically heady worlds in which seemingly English words bear histories that are not necessarily apparent because, for example, they are not necessarily explained or annotated in each and every utterance. Why annotate and explain yourself after all, when your conceptual and cultural assumptions are already clear to your listener or reader who hails from the same experiential world as yourself? It makes easy sense to say, therefore, that the prospect of making any facile and so-called objective comparative assessments of Anglophone utterances and literatures is at best iffy, if not downright harebrained. Allow me at this point to remind our benighted and self-satisfied opinion giver. The universalist stance of formalist judgment has long been called out as delusional, if not insincere. There is no value-free position from which to perceive and determine merit in Anglophone compositions, literary or otherwise. In other words, our Anglophone literature is entirely our own. It is entirely irreplaceable, entirely unreplicable, and most important, because it is grounded in our archipelago's embarrassment of cultural and linguistic riches, and because it is unavoidably translational, and as such, shot through with recontextualized meanings, it is precious beyond mere Anglophone words. It's a long sentence, but I hope it sinks in. Turning now to the marketing side of things. Okay, so I'm sorry about that digression into theory and discourse. I now become managerial again. Turning now to the marketing side of things, my tenure as UP Press Director has likewise seen an expansion of marketing platforms and business models. We engaged in a limited venture in electronic book publishing in 2012 in partnership with a local digital company, Flipside Digital Content. We ended this venture in 2016 after our contract expired and Flipside folded up. I almost want to say flipped. Flipside flipped belly up, okay? We are currently exploring new options in this regard, even as, going by our experience with Flipside, the sales from this platform are most likely to be modest at best. Our hunch tells us that the print book market is still the dominant market for most of our academic and literary titles. We made a direct foray into online sales in 2016 with the opening of our online store. We would have done this earlier, except that UP being a government institution, there were all sorts of legal and financial hurdles that the university system administration had to clear before we could get our online sales facility up and running. Now it's up and running, but it only accepts Visa cards. I don't understand why, but only Visa. While our bookshop has branches across a few campuses in the UP system, we have one in Cebu, one in Baguio, a small one in Iloilo, and we closed the one in Davao because after 4 years, there was not a single sale of a single book. I decided to close it. Well, they moved away from the center of the city to this really boondocky place na wala na talagang bumibili. But I'm currently rethinking that. Maybe things have stabilized in the campus, in the new campus now, that maybe we can reopen it. Yes. Because we had to close. The campus was new and things were chaotic. No? Okay. Okay, where was I? Since 2018 also, we've been operating our own commercial outlet Upper Shelf, located at the urban turf wing of the UP Town Center. I hope you can drop by and visit it. It's surprising because it doesn't look like a UP store. Because it looks so saucy. How could government money have been... Yeah, yes. But the UP system titles, we actually have many offices that publish. So we may not have enough shelf space. What I will do, Karina, is meet with the academic publishers and agree to carry their brochures. And we will take orders and they can be picked up there. We will still charge some kind of consignment, something, all right? But we will do that for the other presses because we're the only one so far with a store, our own store, which is nice. Okay, all right. The sales from this shop, Upper Shelf, have been very encouraging. 1 year na so I have the data and it's quite good. With the general and random rather than dedicated book buyer becoming a surprising and welcome addition to our local retail market. There's such a thing as an accidental or random or general book buyer. The one who's not dedicated, the one who doesn't go to the mall looking for a book. The one who's just passing by and sees this thing and buys impulse purchase or something like that. So that's a welcome addition. No? Although now and then, actually, these are actually not entirely random because they're UP alumni thinking they could buy a mug or a shirt or a pen or something in the shop. And they realize that it only carries books. And then they are enlightened and think that maybe a book is a good pasalubong to bring their alumni friends back in the US rather than a mug. So yes, that's also a wonderful accidental buyer. I'll tell you later. Well, actually, no, anything. Depends on their own discipline where they graduated from. They gravitate towards that. No? To optimize the opportunity presented to us by this commercial space, we've decided to hold weekly book signings at Upper Shelf. As an activity, this has undoubtedly helped boost sales, even as it has also raised awareness about this new and special meet and greet venue. So it's a nice place to meet authors, and I'm going to market the place more as a meet and greet venue. No? If you want to meet a UP Press author, we can actually schedule an appearance of that person there. Okay? It's right across Rodix and Friuli, which are quite affordable and yummy eating places you associate with UP. Friuli for the millennials and the Z, yes. Kasi bago yan sa Maginhawa yung first branch niya. And Rodix, of course, is for everyone from UP. No? They all know Rodix. I'd like to say that our social media presence is sustained and in earnest. Or maybe I'm just being optimistic. I think yes, I'd like to say that. The UP Press maintains Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube pages and channels in which we regularly feature our authors and their latest books. We've discovered that selling authors is an effective way of selling books. It's always a joy to encounter new media-savvy authors who veritably sell themselves. We have one right now whose book just came out. He's a pediatric neurosurgeon, and he's been blogging since time immemorial, and he has so many followers. No? Yung kanyang first run ng 1,000, ubos na. So we have actually run out of copies to sell over the holidays. He has 3 book launchings scheduled, sponsored by 3 different groups. Okay, I have only 5 minutes left. Almost done. Okay. Finally, allow me to say that the UP Press is in a comfortable, read stable, and very liquid, fairly liquid financial position as of the moment. We draw our operational and publishing expenses from a revolving fund, and because of more aggressive marketing strategies coupled with an optimization of editorial and administrative operations, We've seen a septupling of this fund since my tenure as director began around 8 years ago, times 7. With the support of the University Administration, the UP Press hopes to continue its existing editorial and marketing initiatives, even as it seeks to pursue other platforms and formats. Our books are now on Lazada, and the new books are flying off the shelves, particularly the one by the pediatric neurosurgeon. I don't know why. He's been teaching kasi in UP-PGH for a long time, so now his students are buying and then alumni are buying. And so it's quite nice to have all these Lazada bags in the bookshop, and the staff of the marketing are just busy stuffing the bags with books. No? It's happening also to Ateneo, right? Okay. And make newly available classics and titles written by its roster of important authors. It includes, among others, national artists, national scientists, and national academicians. We have them as authors of the press. And so their classics, we are going to reissue them. No? We have to probably update some of them and get the permission from those who have passed away. No? In the end, I want to say that we are looking forward to publishing and marketing more excellent and, of necessity, formally and verbally hybrid or mixed books by our very best creative and scholarly writers. So thank you so much. That's my short presentation.
Thank you, Neil. Guys, you got to see this bookstore, upper shelf. Okay, it fits right into UP Town. And that's why you need to visit it, because it really it changes your idea of what a university bookstore would look like, and it's a great showcase for their books. It's a great marketing idea that I think more stores, more university presses should should actually do. All right. Our next speaker graduated from the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, with a degree in development communication, major in educational communication. He has been working in the publishing industry for the last 10 years. His main focus is in textbooks for basic education. He's been working for Oxford University Press for the past 2 years as the senior education consultant for the Philippines, and currently he is finishing his Juris Doctor degree at San Beda College in Alabang. Ladies and gentlemen, from OELT Limited, Mr. Andrei Manuel.
Hello, hi, good morning. Okay. Do we have I have a PowerPoint, so, all right, there you go. So I'm Andrei Manuel, as introduced. I work for OELT. Just to give a brief background, what OELT is, it's the Philippine company for Oxford University Press. That said, I'm here to talk about, I was asked to talk about the trends in academic publishing, and I know there are a lot of trends, but later on, I'll just be focusing on one trend. We have so many, Asian integration. These are buzzwords that we've been hearing for the past, 10 years. Asian integration, the K-12 curriculum. We have a lot of issues there. We have a lot of trends. But my talk for today would focus on one particular area of the K-12 initiative of the government. Anyway, next slide, please. Just to introduce who we are, I have a very, very short video. I hope you appreciate this video. I'd like to introduce who Oxford University Press is, because based on as far as I know, we are one of the newest international publishers here in the Philippines currently. So, the sound. I think we have a little bit of technical difficulty.
We are over 6,000 people worldwide na nakaaabot sa bawat sulok ng mundo.
संतानवे भाषाओं में. We are part of Oxford University and we are active in education, research and the learning of English.
Education gives the children a wider perspective on life. It's a joyous process,
and it should continue throughout life.
What rewards me is seeing my children grow, taking them on that journey, and they become these independent thinkers.
Off to school we go.
There are billions of people looking to learn English in order to improve their lives.
Oxford just does not publish books and then forget all about education.
How do we teach them?
They make sure that the teachers are catered with what they actually require in order to help the books to the maximum potential.
We work a lot on the passion of teaching and also on the content and the pedagogy.
When one thinks about OUP, you think about excellence and education, and these are the two descriptors of the university as well. The press helps to project the university internationally, writing books that influence political debates, intellectual debates, educational debates.
It is very important for new ideas and new research to be published and made known.
Excellence is something that I don't want to compromise on, and I found through working with OUP that they don't compromise on it either.
OUP has an outstanding reputation, and I think they're hugely well respected.
The digital transition is going to be defining for our sector. By working in partnership, we can bring understanding of pedagogy and research that can be adapted to a digital environment.
We work with big tech companies, developers, and others to make sure that the rich tapestry of language is reflected in people's digital lives.
It's not just about making interfaces look great. It's more about understanding how these final users are going to use this product.
The fact that probably somewhere there's an iota of difference that we're able to make, that drives us, and that's the passion that drives us there.
We believe that education changes and makes a difference in people's lives.
This is our passion.
And our motivation for everything we do.
It's our DNA.
Education is the key to life. You can do whatever you want to do. It breaks the boundaries.
So that's Oxford University Press. Just to avoid the confusion, OELT is the Philippine name. Anyway, so Oxford University Press started around 1600s. But for the Philippine office, next slide please. But for the Philippine office, we are located currently in PBCom. We just started our operations here to have an actual office in the Philippines 2 years ago. But prior to opening our office in the Philippines, because it was then around probably 2016, 2015, as many of you know, this was when we were implementing the K-12 curriculum. And we were launching the 11 and 12, the new 11 and 12 levels of basic education. So that's when we decided that it is high time Oxford University Press comes to the Philippines, because Oxford University OUP has been in this region for a very long time. We've been in Malaysia for 40 years already. So it was then that OUP decided to enter the Philippine market. But prior to opening our office, we initiated research because we were already planning on bringing in books initially, bringing in books straight off our shelves into the country. But then, before that, we initiated a lot of roundtable discussions. We interviewed a lot of teachers. And then, next slide, please. These are the things that we found. Based on the teachers themselves, they want books that are easy to comprehend, rich in assessment, that has supporting resources, that is 100% aligned with the national curriculum, and it is localized. But apparently, the last two, we found out that the last two is the most important thing for the teachers. Next slide, please. Because, all right, a lot of this, we know that there are already a lot of international publishers present already in the country. But a lot of them, including us actually, what they did was they just brought in the books that were printed in their country of origin. They printed materials directly based on the American curriculum, based on Singaporean maths. They brought it here. They did not align that. Well, a little bit. They aligned that, but basically it's not 100% aligned with the national curriculum. Same with China, and same with UK. That's us. We brought books that are intended for students who would take the IB assessments. So we publish. Actually, this is a big market for us worldwide. Books that are used by students who would sit down for the IB assessments. So these are the things that the international publishers do. Next slide, please. So, atras. Okay, nasira yung joke ko. Anyway, so these are the things that the publishers do. They because a lot of them, the big publishers, they have a huge bank of books that they can use. So when K11 and 12 first arrived, when it was first introduced to us and it was implemented way back 2011, 2012, this is the thing that we did. This is the thing that they did because it was such in a hurry. So what they did was they just mixed and matched particular titles, particular subject areas that would make it aligned with the DepEd curriculum of the K-12 curriculum. So in a sense, a lot of the teachers said that, okay, fine, it has all the necessary competencies, all the requirements that the curriculum require. It's there. If you check it on the table of contents, it's going to be in sequence. It's going to be there. But the problem is, next slide, ito yung joke ko, it's the teachers found it like, it felt like it was a Frankenstein's monster. You know, different parts coming from different books. And this is very apparent. This has been a very recurring observation of the teachers we've talked to. They say that, I'm not going to stand here and say that those books are not good. That's going to be totally unfair. They are good books. But what the teachers observe is that when you go through the book itself, one chapter 1, chapter 2, there will be no what you call a sequence. You can feel that there are bumps on every chapter. It will not be as I'm looking for the word. Yes, the flow is the flow is not continuous. It's very apparent. That's why they felt that these books are not very perfect for the local curriculum. And then there are other issues that it is not localized. You know, we have books that are still using miles, US dollars, UK pounds. You know, this is not which are not very, very localized, and you know, this could cause confusion to our students. So what we did, and I think this is the trend that I would like to focus on, and a lot of the publishers I think are already also doing this, is that, next slide please, we collaborated, all right, stop. We collaborated with the local teachers who have been in the industry for a long time. They wrote books for us, and then, next slide please, aside from the teachers, we also collaborated with industry practitioners, not just teachers, much like what we did with one particular subject, wherein we had two authors, local authors, who wrote for the book. One was a teacher, another one was a scientist. Now, why do I say this? This is I think this is the trend for at least for the international publishers, that when we print materials for the basic education, it's not gonna be a mix and match of things that are already, of books that are already existing outside the country. Now, I think what we are seeing is a trend where international publishers will collaborate with teachers, and this has been happening already, are collaborating with teachers, area experts, because this is the requirement of K-12, not just the academics, but to prepare our students for the real life experience of what they will come to after they graduate grade 12. Because technically that's the idea of the government when they launch K-12, right? When they graduate K-12, they will be employable. So this is the trend that we are seeing right now, and I think this is for at least for the Philippine market, this is very good for us, because now we are seeing international publishers acknowledging the fact that I think this was a little bit dinaanan kanina ng presentation ni Dr. Garcia, na a lot of the things that a lot of people are saying that Filipino, we don't have the quality writers, which I really beg to disagree. And we found them. We found a lot of them who have collaborated with us, who are collaborating with us, finishing projects with us. And these materials, now this time around, well, from our perspective, this is our further down the pipeline. This is our dream, is to export the materials that we produce here to outside the country. And we have the machinery to do it. We have been doing this in Australia, wherein you don't hear a lot of things coming out of Australia for curriculum aside from maths. Now, the Australian team are producing books that are being brought here to the international schools here, being brought to international schools in India, Pakistan, Malaysia. So this is the trend. This is the trend also that we are looking a little bit further down the line, but we are also preparing for. So going back to my presentation, so this is the trend right now that we are seeing is that international publishers, especially for the K-12 curriculum, I'm not just saying for the 11 and 12, but also for the basic 1 to 10, international publishers will be collaborating with local authors who would write books with them. And I think the benefit of this is that you get the best, the authors, the skills of the authors, and then you get the, I don't want to say that we have a higher quality, but being this, an international publisher, we have a standard that we have to maintain. The standards that when we publish a book here, the standards that that publisher would publish that book would also be of the same standards, that in a sense that as it is, that published book can also be sold or brought to other markets outside of the Philippines. Next, please. So, that's what happened. We collaborated with local authors, with local teachers, local authors, local subject area experts, and came out initially with our own K-12 series that is completely written by Filipinos for the national curriculum, published by us for the local market. So now we're done with the K-12 STEM and some core subjects, and coming up is ABM and some of the rest of the core subjects. And also in the pipeline, we will still do the same thing, wherein for the basic education 1 to 10, we'll also publish for grades 1 to 10 with local authors and probably with the guidance of some people coming in from outside the country. So it's going to be a book that is written by local teachers and local subject area experts with us behind it. So yeah, next slide please. And also, I'd like to highlight, this is also a publishing that that was done already. This is a marketing book, marketing communications book. This was published with one Filipino author collaborating in it. The rest of the authors are coming from India, Pakistan, I think, and somebody from Malaysia. Now, why do I tell this? Because this is what I was trying to tell you a while ago, that the idea is to bring out to the other neighboring countries, probably even across all markets, books that are published by Filipinos. So this is one of the things that, this is a testament to the first step that we plan to do, wherein we have a Filipino author who collaborated with other authors from the region to publish a book for the region and the country and the Philippines to be brought across all markets. So I think, to wrap up my talk, this very short talk, I think that's the trend that we are looking at as an international publisher, wherein we will now, as for us, we will veer away, because we will veer away from just mix and matching titles from existing books so that it will be aligned with the with the national curriculum. What we want to happen right now is that we collaborate with local authors, with us behind them, and publish the books that they will produce. So yeah, next slide. So that's here. I just would like to show this is our office in UK. So just a brief background. Oxford University Press is an arm of the Oxford University in UK. So we are a non-profit organization. All our profits are being coursed after they pay us, definitely. They bring it back to the university for research, for scholarships, and other things that the university will probably need it for. So yeah, there. So thank you for coming to this talk. I'm Andrei Manuel, Senior Education Consultant for Oxford University Press.
Thank you, Andrei. So many things to take away from that talk. I'm sure that you'll have questions for him later, and if you want, you can come up to him. So very interesting. Our final speaker for the day serves as a governor for the National Book Development Board, vice chair for internal affairs of the Book Development Association of the Philippines, or BDAP. She also is on the board of Philippine Pen and Union ng mga Manunulat ng Pilipinas, or UMPIL. She is the director of the Ateneo de Manila University Press, who is the National Book Awardee for Publisher of the Year this year for 2017 and 2018. So like Ateneo, she is a three-peat winner. Ladies and gentlemen, Karina A. Bolasco. I have to put it in there somewhere.
Yeah, but we'll not get the same kind of publicity as basketball. Okay. I have a PowerPoint. I normally don't have, but I hope the PowerPoints to minds and not just to eyes. Okay. I will... I will start with the mission and vision of the Ateneo de Manila University Press, which is derived from the university's overall mission and vision. I'm doing this because everything that we're hopefully doing is in the context of, with the mission and vision in mind. No? So the more important thing for me here is that we craft and produce academic and scholarly literary as well as non-literary works and textbooks that to create a forum for great and original ideas and new knowledge that weigh on life and living in our country. And the mission is with a strong conviction that our authors can fully articulate, whether in an academic or creative manner, their varying interests in diverse disciplines of learning, we publish their books and put them front and center of the public eye so that they may generate intellectual excitement and advancement within and beyond the university, and thereby help grow critical mass of thinkers and believers who will raise the quality of life of every Filipino. That's such a big goal, and I always tell my staff that selling the books is, of course, as important as doing the books, because if they're not read, then they will never be able to do any of these lofty things that we set as our mission and vision. So when we vet and decide what books to publish in line with our mission and vision, we ask questions like, in the main, the books of the university press should either present new or little known material, usually the result of recent research, or contribute to a new understanding of familiar material by treating it in an original and stimulating manner. We expect scholarship to be adequate or even superior, meaning would have gone through rigorous and extensive, it involved rigorous and extensive research. How important is the book or the work in the scheme of things today? So when we say that, we're really looking at how we can shape or impact on the shaping of public policies. So in other words, we have to write books that our politicians, our public servants, our administrators will read and help them decide on the kind of policies and rules and laws that they propose and legislate. How does it compare with similar studies in the field, whether it moves it forward and just doesn't repeat something that was already said? And of course, if the work is well written, which means style and organization, and if it's not yet, is the work potentially outstanding or distinguished, that therefore it is worth revising. We started another line when I came to join the press, which is called the Bughaw imprint. This is to accommodate books that can respond maybe faster to current issues and are not and cannot fit into the main academic and scholarly line. So the Bughaw covers literature. The press was publishing literature before, but now we're rationalizing it by saying that maybe literary criticism can go into the main and academic and scholarly line, but literature will be in Bughaw. And then we also have autobiographies and memoirs or biographies, whether of people or of companies or of institutions. And we also accommodate the third part in the Bughaw imprint, anthologies which are multidisciplinal, multi-authored, but on a current or a singular topic or theme. We also have we have the textbook line. Every time I talk about a university press and textbooks, people get surprised, especially in the United States, because that's a very clear separation. Textbook publishers they have their territory, and the university presses can never do textbooks. No? That's very clear to them. So they're always surprised when I talk about textbook development in a university press. The reason we do this is because actually a university campus or a university is the most organic ecosystem for textbook development, especially if you have until K-12, not just college or the university, because all the experts are there. You have the classroom teachers, you have the classrooms where you can field test. Everybody's there. And if you can just convince them to not just be parochial and look at the Ateneo experience and the Ateneo curriculum, but look at others, then we can make it a bit, it doesn't follow maybe the K-12 public school curriculum to the letter, but it can be used by other schools, apart from, of course, the Jesuit chain. No? And for this, the impetus for this is, of course, the K-12, the new curriculum. So it is an opportunity to develop a whole generation of textbooks for our young people. And we are helped by, we had to institute several support systems for textbook development. One, we work with the SALT. The SALT is an institute in Ateneo. It's called the Science and Art of Learning and Teaching. So they help us facilitate. They have a textbook development program where faculty who are involved in writing textbooks are deloaded. So because of that, the press has also to, the school, whether School of Humanities or School of Social Sciences, they also earn a little bit from the royalties of the textbooks. But that takes a while, especially because you work with team of authors. There are also cases where we partner, maybe to address what Andrei was saying earlier, we partner with some American publishing companies because, for example, we had an abnormal psychology textbook with 10 cases which are all local, okay? But they needed the theory part. So instead of paraphrasing and, cut and paste, you remember this cut and paste thing for textbooks? What we did was we wrote Cengage and we said, can we use these parts of your textbook, which are the theory, because it's the same. It's only how you apply it in actual cases here in the country that makes the difference, no? But you more or less, and in the process, in fact, you also refine the understanding of the theory. So we pay for using those texts so that the local authors, our authors here, do not have to paraphrase and summarize, but are actually saying the same thing. No? So there are different ways of partnering with other institutions. Okay. Now, since I've been attending the International University Presses Convention at the Frankfurt Book Fair in the last 3 years, I'd like to share with you the issues that are being discussed internationally. Okay. So, no, I think I'm better off reading my... Sorry. At the first convention that was in 2017, The future of university press publishing was discussed. The theme was everything changed, nothing changed. Okay, because what was emphasized was that this is why I like going to this convention, to this presses convention, because while we talk about problems, we always end up being hopeful and optimistic about the industry. So that for as long as the infrastructure of the mind, that this is basic, curious, interested, open-minded people. And then the book's authority, they feel now, the thing with 2017 is you've had years of e-book printing and e-book commerce. So, and remember 10 years ago, they would always announce the death of the paper book because of e-books, no? By the way, we say printing, it's not publishing, because when we publish and we develop the material, that's publishing, and then we decide whether to print it in paper or online, right? So it's paper editions and e-book editions. So, but by 2017, people felt that the book's authority was still even came out stronger, no? I mean, because of so much that's going on the internet, people tend to distrust or mistrust what they read there, and still go to the book as the source of authority. So, and because this is even more potent or more basic in the requirements of university press publishing, the quality seal for academic presses is even more powerful or stronger as a source of authority. And of course, there's the book's cultural prestige that was discussed a lot. And that the book, as I said earlier, despite the wave of e-book printing and pronouncements of death of the paper book, has on the contrary become the anchor of all these new things. Even films, even other things are all coming now from the book. Even the materiality of the book, I mean, you have book collectors who pay, who search everywhere for old books. The Frankfurt Book Fair, which is the largest and oldest book fair, inside you see in one place all the new books of the world in one place, and outside all the antiquarian books. So the materiality of the book has been also emphasized, underscored by the e-book. See, because of the e-books, the book as a material, as an artifact, has even become more valuable, and that's why people invest more in design, in the look. It's like almost, in some cases, an art piece that you have to want to buy over an e-book, right? So in that sense, that was, yeah. So now you now even have book history and book culture studies, and these are growing fields. Publishing supports the culture infrastructure and the centrality of the book as an intellectual artifact. And now also, curation has become gold in a way, very valuable, because it's very important to have taste. It's how you put things together when you develop content, right? So curation is now a very important role, and that's sometimes the role of an editor, Jenna. So selecting the best and putting them together in a cohesive collection. Then the issue of scale versus niche, however you pronounce it, both are acceptable. So there are books that are general titles that can or more basic or fundamental, and there you cover scale. But if you are specialized, and many of the university books are usually very specialized, specific to certain fields and certain topics. And then we said that books as frames are even now more amplifiers than just distributors. So the book is not just a way of reading the knowledge and wisdom and information that's in there. The book by itself as a material frame is now enhances it all the more, amplifies it all the more. And that's probably why the authority of the book is even more enhanced now in the time of e-book commerce. Cooperation among networks in the context of single publishing and shared common standards. So while technology has been challenging, without question, it has also, of course, benefited book publishing. I mean, from the way we produce books, the way now we index, when we do PDF, everything is searchable, the keywords are there. So it has also made things so much easier for us, no? So because of this, we also, it was also discussed how technology can make us, it's easier now to do partnerships or cooperative efforts. For example, with technology, we can do universal cataloging, right? But of course, normally, the people who have the facility and the infrastructure will come from the West, the United States, or Europe. But it's not such a bad thing, no, to be out there on the world list because your titles are carried by a universal catalog. And these are all, okay, when it's a universal catalog, these are PDFs, and therefore they're all searchable. Okay, so like the ProQuest, I don't know if you've heard of ProQuest, it's an aggregator for libraries. They are happy with PDFs. So because the way things work now in many libraries abroad, and I think in some universities here, like I know in Ateneo, some books can be accessed on your gadget. You just key in your student number or your ID number if you're an employee, and you can access certain books on the from the library shelves. So you don't even have to be physically go to the library. You don't have to be in the library, okay? So this kind of aggregation or distribution, ProQuest has you might say you sell one book and this library services 5,000 students, and that's so unfair, right? You will say one book or two books for everybody, and you only. But what ProQuest does, they have a scale in payment, and they can monitor use. So like if 10 people have opened this particular title, they pay you equivalent to 10 copies. If 20 people have, then they pay you equivalent to 20, sale of 20 copies. So this, in a way, this is where you see technology helping us. Okay, so I cannot see how much more time do I have. Okay. Okay, and groups or institutions like ProQuest does not require exclusive distribution. So you can, now the idea is to be carried by as many groups and distributors and aggregators as possible. Then the last issue, which was a big thing, and a big thing in academic university press publishing, is the open access, okay? You've seen academia, many of the papers. The difference between university press publishing and trade publishing, sometimes even the authors don't bother about a fee or a pay for, I cannot see what? Last 4 minutes, okay. Okay, so they have, they don't bother with, for as long as their articles are published in journals, they're happy. They don't, I think most of the, but that's because they get their promotion points and their rewards in the university where they are, right? When their articles are published in journals. So the trend now is to make, because the idea is to disseminate, it's dissemination, making all these books which are supposed to have an impact on the shaping of public policies in different countries, should therefore be openly accessible to people who need it. No? So this is why many of the journals can be downloaded after they have some kind of embargo period. Like I know that the Philippine Studies is, I think, 5 years. So after 5 years, everything 5 years old is downloadable. Okay. So with the open access, the many issues that we have to go into are, one, language. Because how do we do it for, I mean, the Japanese, all their materials or their scholarly materials on academic are in Japanese. And even with us here, I mean, that's been an issue in UP and Ateneo, where what happens to faculty who write in Filipino, who write scholarly materials in Filipino? They're never published in an international journal. And nothing has happened there, and that affects your promotion and in the university, no? So that's been an issue. So the same thing with the citation indices, because with Scopus, which is owned by Elsevier, and Thomson Reuters, which is owned by a Canadian company, and they affect world ranking of universities. So you're forced to good and that that your books will qualify and will be cited in these indices, no? But Thailand is developing its own citation index because their books are in Thai. And I think Japan is on their way to doing something like that. So we're also trying to, at the international level, the ASEAN group is also trying to get together organize as an association of university presses so we can address our own concerns. And but that has, Neil, that has to start with our university presses here being organized as well. So, okay, that ends my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Karina. Can we give a round of applause for all of our speakers today? We'd like to call on Andrei and Neil and Karina to step up in front. We're now going to quickly open the floor to questions. This is your opportunity to pick the brains of our academic publishing experts. Anyone? Who has questions, please? Yes, over in the back. There we go.
Yeah, good morning, sir. I'd like to address my question to Mr. Andrei. You mentioned earlier, sir, that OUP is into developing contents in collaboration with local writers, local authors, for books or titles to be distributed internationally, right? I'm just curious, sir, if you may just share with us, in general terms, of course, you need not disclose your trade secrets. Right. Maybe you can share with us the mechanics on how you proceed to that that kind of trend, and how do you qualify authors to write, local authors to write foreign content?
Okay, so the most, I think I showed the picture of the marketing book. So I'll just discuss how we arrived at collaborating with a local author from, actually she's from UST. So generally the process is, it will vary from case to case, but this particular author, we found her in one of the marketing seminars abroad. Much like how you recruit, collaborate with other authors, you find them in the seminars, like seminars for teachers, seminars for administrators. This is where you find them. And that's where we found her. Now, for the requirements, we don't have a requirement actually that is set in stone that they have to have a PhD, a master, nothing of that sort. Basically, what we look at is the experience behind it and what they can contribute to the publishing of that particular book. No set standards actually. I think the basic minimum is you have to be coming from that industry. If you're not a practitioner, you're a teacher who will teach in that industry. I think that's the basic minimum requirement. And then everything else we can talk about, what credentials. We're not even very particular actually, to be honest. I'm from UP, but we are not very particular if they come from, the big universities. They can come from, we have, right now, we are working with an author who's based in Bacolod, I think. What's that? Bacolod or Iloilo, one of those two cities. So not from the popular universities here that we have here in Metro Manila. Did I answer your question, ma'am?
or orienting them? What do you do in that area?
So what we do is, because mostly, this is I think the most common denominator for our current authors. Most of them are first-time authors. So what we did is we sent our team from Malaysia, from UK, to train them on how to write actually, to how to write a book, and to how to transform the wisdoms that they have into words that other people can read. So we train them actually. We have an extensive training for them for those who do not have experience. But the coming titles that we have is now a mixed match of people who have written for other publishers or who have written books that were distributed in the international market.
It's not something that I should. I just want to sort of piggyback on that a little. The example being set by OUP, Oxford University Press, is interesting because the UP Press is the oldest university press in the country. It was established in 1965. UST Press was not a university press until recently. It was a printing press, the oldest printing press in the country. But if this is a university press and it's going into the printing of textbooks for K to 12, grades 1 to 10, and then 11 and 12, and it's a foreign university press, I think it stands to reason that Ateneo, UP, and the other local university presses should do the same. The reason we haven't done it is that it's going to sort of complicate our operations. This is the most practical reason. The second thing is we don't really have textbooks even for the college and the postgraduate classes in UP. Because UP prides itself in this thing called academic freedom. The moment you have a textbook, it means it's prescribed, right? And UP professors will not accept a prescribed book. They each professor puts together his or her own set of readings, right? So it's a kind of like tradition in UP that's being upheld. But we can't let OUP do this. I'm sorry, like Karina used the buzzword new colonialism. Well, it's kind of funny. I mean, it's an outside press. It carries, the reason why they know that they can do this is that they carry the name OUP, Oxford University Press. You're going to want to use that if you're a school. No, if you're a school. Yeah. If you're a private school, let's say, and you have, an elementary school, you have senior high school, senior high school, you want to use their books because it raises the prestige of your own school, right? UP should do something. We're going to think about that. No, it's we had it in mind. No, seriously, 8 years na ako sa press. By my second or third year, I already broached the idea to my boss of a subsidiary press for UP Press that can handle textbook production. First for 11 and 12, which used to be our freshman, sophomore college years, and then possibly even 1 to 10. But it would create too much difficulty, and I am too lazy. No, it's not just me. It's also the things have outlay and things like that. And, UP is tied up in so much bureaucracy, it's government. So, but I'm going to broach it again because OUP is now aggressively doing this, and I saw your titles are already there. We can't let OUP get away with murder. No, Karina, of course, has already been pushing textbooks, no? We have been publishing books with textbook application potential. We don't want to call them textbooks, but they actually can be used as textbooks, no? You can call them supplementary readings or reference material, etc., but they're textbooks, okay? But Ateneo University Press is willing to go all out and publish talaga textbooks. That's different for us. We have a book on calculus, we have a book on statistics, econometrics, things like that, but they are packaged as reference books. Okay.
Yeah, we're already doing the textbook project but I know where UP is coming from. You're not even and you're not even told to buy a textbook. A teacher is not allowed to prescribe a textbook because with one textbook you just have the mind. You're going to the mind of just one team of authors or just one school, no? That's why they want you to read as many other materials. But some teachers really need textbooks, and it becomes a sin of omission if you don't provide them the good textbooks, okay? I mean, of course, good for certain subjects, yes. Yes, and it really works so slowly. If you're doing it correctly, it really takes time. Even with a campus where everybody's there, the teachers, the faculty in the School of History is there, but you have the history and AP teachers in the grade school, it still takes a lot of coordination to make them come together. Now, in relation to what OUP is doing, I'll have to say this also. When it comes to trade publishing, I will have to comment on the Penguin Southeast Asia team because they're doing the same thing for trade. That before we were selling, they've been bringing their books here, selling the books by American writers, by foreign writers. Now they're getting our local authors, and because there is that Penguin seal, it makes them prefer it. And so with that, we lose them, but they will bring them back to the Philippine market. Because with their profit, of course, and everything. Because who will buy a work of a Filipino author? It's still the Philippine market. It will not get to the U.S. I mean, Penguin Southeast Asia will not get to the U.S. It will go to, region, Southeast Asia. It will go to a few stores in Singapore. But so it's again, as I said, this ingenious way of raising it to another level. Because now, Anyway, that's out of our topic.
I just want to say, I'm just slightly kidding about it because I think it's a good thing for us to actually have more competition. And the entry of foreign players into the academic publishing scene actually should be a very good impetus for all of us to get our act together and to improve. So I'm actually just welcoming them in a way, no? But I'm also saying it's time for the university presses to rethink the function that they have been sort of like carrying out, which is just to publish academic scholarly books, no? And actually to get into textbook publishing now. Because this is Oxford University already, no? And they are doing it. Actually, they've been doing it for a while. So, but that's the British model. American system kasi yung UP, it was patterned after American University Press system.
I think it's also important to note that the teachers have a lot of latitude to choose what books they would use in their classes. So I think it's also very helpful, not just for the textbooks, but for the trades to be directed at the instructors. For those teachers who do not prescribe to a textbook for the entire grade level, that the individual teachers, like in college, for example, they would pick out what books their students would read, just as an observation. Okay, we have time for one more question. Okay, over there. Jen.
Hi, good morning. This is for Mr. Neil. This is for Mr. Andrei and also for the other two, Miss Karina and Sir Neil. I used to work for Wiley in Singapore, and they have a very impressive production system. It's nakakainggit, to say the least. And I really want it. When I transferred to Anvil, I brought that in. Minimal pala, kasi syempre, isang tao ka lang. But I wonder if as academic book publishing and also with the other publishers, are we very concerned about having a very synchronized, harmonized production system such that one person is able to publish, like, let's say, 40 books in a year. Meron siyang schedule, tapos he can follow that, tapos he has a lot of suppliers and vendors. Para magiging isa kang solo publisher on your own. So this book production system ng Wiley is very impressive, and I would like to know if OUP can, perhaps share something sa Philippines para yung system natin for book production will be mas maganda. Mas maganda for everyone, very effective. It's an online system such that anyone can like kunyari, your commissioning editor can monitor anong books na ginagawa mo at what stage you are in. If you have been paid, everything is in there. Yung parang one-stop shop na siya for a single publisher. So I wonder if OUP can do that. If we can do that in the Philippines, because it's really awesome.
So it's like real time. It's like when they touch one thing, the other person can say, okay. Yeah, yes.
Okay, sorry. For OUP, what we do is, because we have very strict compliance, we have a very strict compliance team based in the UK. That's why almost all of our materials that are being released in the Southeast Asian region are being, I'm just referring to the start of the process, are being printed in probably 3 or 4 locations only, because of that compliance things, because you know the UK bribery law and stuff, whatnot. We have to comply with that. That's why we're very strict. So you were saying that for Wiley they have a system wherein real-time monitoring of everything that's happening. I think that's editing. All right. For us, it's very centralized. It's very centralized because our HQ is in Malaysia. It's very centralized. In a sense, everything, all payments that are going to the vendors, everything else is going centralized in Malaysia. The only thing that is being done here is the actual writing of the book. Everything, the manuscripts, everything is sent to Malaysia. That's because we have to. Because of I'm going back to my original point that we have a very strict compliance team, wherein they want to monitor everything. So it makes it easier for them to monitor everything if it's in just one location. So for Wiley, I think they're more lenient because they can go around. So for us, we right now we cannot. So I think what for OUP, what we can share is how we are doing it from a centralized point of view. That I think we were able to do it. We were able to print, publish on time. I think that's very important for publishing, that on time. So we were able to do it. If vendor payments were done on time also. So I think if you want, we can sit down and I can share with you how we did it from a centralized point of view.
Since we don't do textbooks, wala naman kaming pressure to do any high volume sort of production. We do come up with 30 to 35 titles a year, including reprints. So we are actually, we're productive. We do good work, but we are a government press, and so we go through bidding and procurement and all the layers of bureaucracy. So ang dami naming problema actually, just getting even the printers paid. The print na yung libro, but then we have to do quality control for everything. Hanggat hindi talaga na-check lahat yung delivery nila, hindi sila mabayaran. But we already have very dedicated regular printers always doing the bids, and nananalo naman sila. So sanay na sila sa rhythm ng government, So, kasi marami rin namang projects sa government sila nakukuha siguro, And then also because we are an academic press, very important yung editorial review process namin. The vetting process can take a while. So we cannot really impose a kind of timetable, the fast timetable that the other multinational publishing houses have. But we're trying to do the best that we can, given the constraints. But I think what we need to do really is sort of optimize operations lang, in the editorial and the administrative parts of the press, and of course also try to improve the marketing. Because we are strange, UP is the best university in the Philippines. All the metrics, all the ranking, all these beauty pageant rankings are saying that, We're actually moving very fast up hindi basketball yan, and I don't know, internationally ranked, at maganda naman yung metrics nila, they really measure everything, So it's world ranking, and we are the official publishing house of the UP system. So notionally, we actually should be the publishing, we should be at the receiving end of the knowledge production of researchers from all over UP. The natural scientists are not giving their research to us because they need to be published in journals. Because, science rectifies itself, and within the time that it takes to put out a book, pasay na siya. So, ang marami kaming manuscript, social science, humanities, tsaka literary titles, yung nature, pareho ng Ateneo, no? More or less, konti lang yung natural sciences. But, we are servicing the UP community in that sense, the research community of UP. So we publish books that actually have very little commercial potential because they are just deemed important by the the one and only national university, which is not the university that won the cheer dance competition. No? But we have a Republic Act. We have a law that established UP, a new one, and we are called the only national university of the Philippines. No? So we have to publish books that are deemed important by the nation to be published, even if these books will probably take forever to sell. And our bodega is full of them, and well, hindi naman, nabebenta rin, pero mabagal, glacial yung iba. Poetry nga, ang bagal-bagal, no? Which is really worse pa than the scholarly books. The scholarly books are, actually, sometimes they sell out. Pero poetry ang hirap eh. Pero kasi pumapasa eh. Ay, niyawan ko, wala naman kaming long-lived poet. Wala pa kami Instagram poet na pinapublish. May nagsubmit na ganun type, pero bumabagsak sa review. So, may problema rin siguro yung review natin, no? Bakit hindi natin pinapublish yung mga long-lived? Okay, Karina.
Yeah, just to add to what Neil said, it's very, those systems are so expensive. Apart from that, even if we're considering a textbook program, it takes a while because the manuscripts are not done yet in the first place. Okay, we also don't have anything against working with foreign publishers, but we would like the initiative to come from our group. For example, when the case of the abnormal psychology textbook, what was submitted was stories of 10 local cases. And we wanted to turn it into a textbook as well. So what we did was we asked permission from Cengage to use parts of their theory discussion to put also in the book, right? So that it becomes more functional as a textbook for abnormal psychology. I think the reason why we had to do textbooks, because as I keep saying to my staff, we write all these researches and all these pioneering studies, and they are never read, then they become useless, right? And sometimes I know what separates it is the language. The media people will never even talk about it because it's in English, they cannot read it, they cannot bring it to they have to translate. So even if you do all these books, they will just stay on the shelves, and that's pointless. So that's why I wanted textbooks, because this is knowledge production. The textbook is always maligned and over, but it is still the cheapest and most strategic and effective tool for knowledge production and spread of correct knowledge. Because once a textbook is used, it's a theory applied. You don't even need to read the scholarly books, the academic books. It's already another level of a teacher applying it to actual classroom use. Okay, our time.
Thank you, everybody. We'd like to give a round of applause for Andrei, Neil, and Karina. Thank you for attending our panel on trends in academic book publishing. Up next is the panel on best practices and challenges in developing high-quality books. Please enjoy the rest of the Book Industry Summit. Thank you and good morning.